Okay, so ready to jump into something kind of controversial.
Always up for a good debate.
Right. So today we're tackling what happens to all that stuff, assets, when a marriage ends.
Ah, the age-old question.
Exactly. And get this, some folks are saying chuck the whole shared assets thing altogether.
Yeah, I saw some of those sources you sent over. Definitely some strong opinions on that.
No kidding. So we're going to deep dive into this, look at the arguments for AD against ditching shared assets. But what's really interesting to me is this isn't just about the legal stuff.
It gets philosophical.
Totally. Like, what does it say about marriage itself? Is it financial merger or something else entirely? We've got sources taking all sorts of stances, so this will be good.
Looking forward to it.
So first up, let's unpack this whole abolish shared assets idea.
Okay, so this side is all about individual ownership. Basically, what you earn is yours, period. Marriage doesn't change that.
So like, hey, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours kind of deal.
Exactly. And this viewpoint really emphasizes personal responsibility. Actually, one of the sources you sent, a study from the Institute for Family Studies, found that couples who kept their finances separate were often happier in their marriages. They felt more in control, like they were contributing something that was truly theirs.
That makes sense. But wouldn't this whole thing simplify divorce, legally speaking?
It could. Less stuff to fight over, less time in court. But think about it. If there are fewer shared assets, more couples might jump on the prenuptial agreement train.
Oh, good point. But wouldn't prenups, even if more common, encourage honest conversations about money up front? Isn't that a good thing?
So, transparency is important in any relationship, especially marriage. But one of the biggest concerns about getting rid of shared assets is, well, is it really fair? Especially for the, what some call the vulnerable spouse.
Right, right. And just so everyone's on the same page, by vulnerable spouse, we're talking about someone who might be in a tough spot financially after a divorce. Maybe they took time off work to raise kids or something.
Exactly. Picture this. One person puts their career on hold to raise a family, while the other focuses on work and climbs that ladder. Now, without shared assets, the stay-at-home parent might be left with almost nothing financially.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that leads right into the argument for keeping shared assets, right?
Yeah.
Because it's about acknowledging that marriage is a team effort. Even if one person brings home the bacon, so to speak, both are contributing.
Right. It's like going into business with someone. You each invest in different ways, but you're building something together. And when it comes time to, see those rewards, well, they should be shared.
It's interesting. You sent this article from The Economist, and it talks about this legal idea called community property.
Yeah.
Basically, everything earned during the marriage is owned equally by both partners, regardless of who earned it.
Oh, yeah, that was a classic. And that system really puts emphasis on shared responsibility.
Totally. And it makes you think about all the things that go into a marriage that aren't just about money. Childcare, managing the house, keeping everything running smoothly so the other person can focus on their job. These are huge contributions.
You're right. It challenges us to think about how society values that kind of work. Because if it's not measured in dollars and cents, does it really count?
That's deep, man. And even in situations where one person earns way more than the other, both are still benefiting from that income during the marriage. So if things end, should those benefits just disappear?
That's a tough question.
No doubt. So we've got these two big arguments, and both have valid points. But as I was digging through the sources, I noticed another wrinkle. Some folks are worried about, people taking advantage, regardless of which system is in place.
Oh, for sure. I mean, with shared assets, there's always the concern that someone might slack off on purpose, knowing they'll still get half.
Right, right. But then, if we get rid of shared assets, what's to stop someone from hiding money just to avoid sharing it? Wouldn't that just lead to even more legal battles?
Potentially, yeah. The sources you send over highlighted how messy it can get. It was interesting to see the different opinions on how this would actually play out in the real world.
Totally. It's a mess no matter how you slice it. But there's this research paper from the American Bar Association that proposed a kind of compromise.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
So they suggested a mix of both systems. Anything you own before the marriage stays separate, but anything you earn during the marriage gets split. But there's a catch. They wanted to use a sliding scale. So things like how long you were married and how much each person contributed would affect the split. Pretty interesting, huh?
It is. It takes into account that each situation is different, and it tries to balance individual contributions with the whole partnership aspect of marriage.
Yeah, it's tricky. No easy answers here.
For sure.
Well, After all this, I think it's safe to say we've covered a lot. Our listeners out there have a lot to think about now.
Absolutely. And I'd say, as you continue thinking about all this, ask yourself, what would need to happen if we did move away from the traditional way of dividing assets? What could we put in place so everything is fair and no one gets taken advantage of? Could we even come up with a system that both recognizes individual efforts and indeed the shared journey of marriage?
Lots to ponder. Good stuff.
It's a big question, that's for sure.
It is. And it'll be interesting to see how this debate evolves.
Definitely. I don't think this one's going away anytime soon.
Nope, not a chance. But hey, at least we're all a bit more informed now.
That's the goal. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime. And to our listeners, keep those brains buzzing. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See ya.